Hey everybody, this is Iliana Mileva and I'm excited to bring you Menopause Made Easy, a podcast designed to provide you tips and strategy to navigate the changes in woman's body, mind and spirit with more grace and ease. I appreciate you tuning in. Remember to like, subscribe and turn on your notifications so you are updated of each episode release. Alright, let's dive in. Oh, hello, everyone, and welcome again in Menopause Made Easy podcast. We are in episode 33, I think, already. And today I have amazing guest, Angela Irwin. She is amazing coach. She's confidence coach. She's international speaker also. She's TEDx speaker. She gonna speak about the confidence and how you can gain our confidence because as many of us know, going through perimenopause and menopause are part of many other symptoms. You can start to lose our confidence, our motivation, our inspiration. So we're going to discuss a little bit about this. But first of all, I want to hear Angela's story about how she came to become a confidence coach, her story a little bit about hearing what's happened with her during around age of 7. I would like that she tell us her story by herself and not me to this read from her bio. So welcome, Angela. Welcome again. And let us know your story and how that lead to your career right now of like confidence coach and what exactly you're doing.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Julia, for having me. I'm really excited to be here with you and your listeners. It is kind of an interesting story because I will say, full disclosure, I am the last person who thought that they would be working in the space of confidence. And the reason that is, I, for the majority of my life, thought that confidence was either, it was one of those you're born with it sort of a idea. It's you had it or you didn't. And I spent the first 15 years of my career in the corporate world in medical devices, marketing, education, that sort of thing. And I was confident enough at times. And now looking back, I certainly was seeking external validation for that confidence as well. But anyway, it was a career change just after I turned 40. So I came out of the corporate world and was looking for something different and found my way to coaching. And I was so green, I didn't even know what coaching was. I was like, what would life coaching even what would that be? But anyway, it was during that time, coincidentally, that I myself really suffered a severe case of confidence crisis, if you will, because moving from working for a company and you're, under an umbrella and you're representing the company and the product and whatever, to all of a sudden you're the product, working for yourself as an entrepreneur, trying to start a business. That's a different ball game. And so all of a sudden I realized I just wasn't even functioning like I ever knew myself to do. And, long story short, I experienced depression for the first time and had to work through that with some professionals. I was fortunate enough to have therapists and some coaches to work through that. Well, in that process was a silver lining. And I learned that we can indeed change the way that we feel about ourselves. And we can actually build confidence, which is not something that I thought we could do. And so having gone through that process myself, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to help, particularly women with, which is who I primarily work with. And so I have been doing that past 6-7 years now.
That's amazing. And how that relate with your symptoms, how you're going through perimenopause, how that affect your business, your personal life, your professional life? Is that something that you have to overcome and confidence help you with that? Right?
Yes, it's a great question. And obviously, what we're here to discuss on this amazing podcast. I found myself experiencing some of those same symptoms. I've been in perimenopause for about 2 years now. And probably like many people, I'm so grateful. First of all, I just want to thank you for having a platform like you do and helping women in the way that you're doing. And I wish I had met you 2 years ago. I think it would have been such a much easier experience. But this just, isn't something that's regularly talked about or talked about enough. And so, some of the symptoms were coming on. This is in the time of COVID, and I did have COVID. And so I'm like, is the brain fog like long-term COVID? Is this like, what is this? And also just not understanding at all the amount of symptoms that, all of a sudden, I'm having a hard time sleeping at night because one of my shoulders is aching. And I'm like, I didn't even do anything, and not realizing, oh my gosh, that's a symptom. Hair loss, massive hair loss, just mood. And it really got to the point over this past summer. I realize now, looking back, I was in depression again. And I guess I didn't really realize it. And it wasn't until I finally went back to my GYN in October. So I suffered really hard the last, all summer, and I didn't need to. I should have gone back much earlier, but she had put me the fall before on just a very small dose of a medication. It wasn't really HRT or anything like that. And I guess I was just thinking, again, not thinking clearly because of the symptoms. I thought, well, she gave me this and this is what it is, and I just have to get through. But yeah, it was just really taking a toll, really did impact my confidence again. And then you feel the imposter syndrome come on. I'm supposed to be this confidence coach helping other women, and I'm just feeling blah. I'm just unmotivated. And so thankfully, when I went back, it was really interesting because I guess I sort of expected, as happens to many women around the globe, to have her sort of minimize my symptoms. I got in there, and by this point, I was just so not myself that I couldn't even speak to her in French. I just started speaking to her in English, and fortunately, her English is very good. And I just said, this this perimenopause is kicking my butt, and I don't know what to do. And she stopped, put her pen down, looked me in the eyes, and said, it was a Friday afternoon, I'll never forget. And she said, you're the fourth woman who sat in that chair this week and told me that. And I just, this wave of relief, I started crying. I started crying right there because, and I'm emotional just even thinking about it, because when you're having these symptoms and you're like, is it me? It must be me, surely I can force myself to move out of this, and this was a similar experience to what I described the first time, in understanding that we can build our confidence and then working through some of the emotional sides of things. So yeah, I guess all of that to say that it was very similar in those moments. And now I just feel, again, she gave me some different medication and the symptoms have much minimized. And the only thing I will say is I wish I hadn't waited that long to go back. And so that I would definitely encourage anyone, if you are waiting or you're suffering in silence, please don't. But I'm also trying to give myself grace too. Because it's very easy to go blame yourself and be like, what the heck? Why didn't you go back? And I'm just like, okay, I didn't, but now we've got a better path forward and feeling much better.
For the medication, what kind of medication it was that? It's a kind of supplements, or what is exactly was that? For your brain, for depression? What exactly was there?
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I didn't realize until later in the summer that depression is a symptom or can be a symptom. And so at one point, it was, like I said, just that feeling of just blah, just unmotivated, uninterested, in which is not like me. And even my husband was to the point where I think think you might want to do something. Because, like I said, I had a great therapist several years ago, and he's like, maybe you want to just go have a visit. And so then I was, sort of looking into that, and I'm like, well, I could do that. I could go to my therapist. I could maybe get something for depression. But if this is a symptom of menopause, it doesn't make sense to do that before going back to my GYN and seeing, okay, because this plethora of other symptoms might also be helped. And so I'm really glad that I did that. I believe the name is Climestin is the medicine,
Clemestine,
the
okay.
medication.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So that is really, gosh, makes such a difference for me.
Did you take some other steps for take care of yourself, like take a more break? What else you did for these symptoms to help yourself?
I did. I was trying to, and this is one of the things that goes back to like the confidence coaching as well, or just as we're trying to improve our relationship with ourselves, we are so hard on ourselves, particularly as women, particularly in this uber fast-paced life and that we're experiencing when we have 24/7 news cycle and everything, and just drinking from the fire hose all day long. It's so overwhelming just living in this current time. I knew I just had to step back. I had some other things happening in my personal life that was a bit of a really difficult personal thing that was happening. And that was also impacting, my mood and things like that. And so I was like, I just need to be gentle with myself. I need to take the small steps. These are all the things I teach, work with clients on and confidence coaching, because anytime we're in a new territory, that can be anything, getting out of your comfort zone, if you're a setback, going through perimenopause or menopause. This is a different road than we're used to. And the emotions can be going all over the place. And so the first thing is just to be kind and gentle and, give yourself grace as you navigate, as you investigate, as you learn more, you seek out help. Again, that's why, your podcast is just so important for people, so that you feel like you're not alone. And of course, I had those days where I was like, oh, come on, like, just get on with it. Like, you got to get this thing done, or you got to get this project or this new workshop put together, or whatever it might be, fill in the blank. And I just was like, okay, I need to slow down to be able to speed up. Because I am not, I knew I wasn't functioning as clearly as I normally would. And I'm like, well, I don't want to put something together and then be like, well, this isn't going to serve people in the way that they need to be served anyway. So I did give myself some of that and slept probably more than I have ever slept. But then you wake up and you're like, okay, let's do this. And that's the small steps. I think that's the most important thing. When you're in that, sort of a funk and those emotions, it's just like, okay, well, I can't do everything, but I can do a few things today. And then you feel a little bit better anyway. I think that helps just in general. And you feel like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah, it's amazing how you get inspired to help others through our own struggles and find this resilience and strength to continue to doing what you love to doing, even our not well, our condition or our how you feel. So, what you're doing to boost your self-esteem is self-acceptance during this period of time.
That's a great question, because what I have learned, over this past 7 years, as I've worked with clients and, like I said, having gone through that myself, what's at the foundation of our confidence is self-acceptance. So you hit it right on the head. And, most of us don't realize that. And our self-acceptance is actually, or how we feel about ourselves, I'll just say that, because our self-esteem, self-acceptance, those are all terms sort of used interchangeably. But basically, the way that we feel about ourselves or view ourselves is formed in early childhood. So usually around the age of 7 or 8 years old, it was something that was told to us, something that we observed, or something that happened to us. And at that time, we're so young, the brain just takes that information on as fact. And that just remains in the subconscious mind forever, really, and until if you have the opportunity, like I did at 40, looking at this for the first time and, realizing that the way I felt about myself was actually really terrible, really terrible. And that stemmed back from losing my hearing over the span of 15 years. So that's kind of a different story. But that was what, from childhood, I just felt like a broken person. And so to think at 40 that that's still how I really felt, despite, any accomplishments or anything I had done in my career, that was really eye-opening for me as well. And that was another reason that I was so interested in this space. And so we need to be aware of that and be more kind to ourselves. And that, like I said, that self-acceptance piece is really that foundation of building the lasting confidence. And so I was just reminding myself, okay, this is very similar to what you went through before. This is a new stage of life. This is what's happening. Your body is changing dramatically. I remember one of the bigger shifts for me in that time as well, in this, past year and a half in particular. I've always kind of struggled with my weight. So it's always been sort of up and down. I've lost weight, I've gained, I've lost weight, I've gained weight. And for the first time, particularly over the past 6 to 9 months, it wasn't even about what the number on the scale was anymore. It was like, I want my body to be healthy. I want to be able to get up off the ground. I live very near to the sea, and we gather on Friday evenings in summer at the beach, and like I want to be able to get up off the ground. I want to be able to be strong in my body. So that was sort of a switch and an acceptance of this is a different season of life. So I think that's a great question, and just that self-acceptance and again, going back and giving yourself grace. We've never gone through this before. Millions of other women have gone through this before us, but the thing is that's also interesting is it's so individual, just like anything else, right? I'm sure we all have the friend. I know I had a friend or have a friend who is a bit older than me. And so when I first started being in perimenopause, and I'm like, I don't know. And there just didn't seem at the time very much information at the ready, or no one was at least talking about it that I was aware of. And so I just asked her, can I ask you about your experience? And she was like, oh, yeah, I just stopped having my cycles. I didn't have any other symptoms. And I'm just going, oh, no. Oh, dear. So then again, that was like, oh, it's just me. I must be, and maybe it's not even related to this. Maybe some, like I'm losing my mind here. But fortunately, I did find some great resources. And I think that's one of the other important things too. And again, this goes along with confidence. It goes along with menopause and perimenopause is find someone, even if it's one single person, to have as a support person. Mine came in the most random way. It's not a family member or close friend or anything like that. Mine happened to be what I call sort of a mastermind buddy. She's also a business owner. She's in Texas and I'm in France, but we would meet every week on Zoom and just keep each other accountable, help each other with our projects and stuff like that. And we had both sort of known through just a bit of information that we were both in perimenopause, but it was just one day during our work call that we both were just like all cards on the table. And I'm like, just sharing, I don't know if you're experiencing this. And again, that relief of, she's like, oh my gosh, like, and we were like, yes, exactly. And again, that just sense of relief of, okay, I'm not losing my mind. Everyone's experience is different, but just that relief, again, of like, I'm not in this by myself. Someone else is having a similar experience. And I think that that's such an important thing to have, like I said, even if it's just one single person, to have that support and to be able to say, holy cow, this is going on or that's going on. And it doesn't have to like take over your whole life. It's just that almost like camaraderie of like, okay, I'm not in this alone. What have you tried? What have you learned? Just like, again, this podcast and the information that comes out that's helpful for people to understand and utilize in their own lives.
Okay. Tell me about your workshop. What you're doing with your workshop? How you help with workshop?
I do different workshops on confidence. I do speaking, like this sort of thing, and other speaking, and also do private coaching and group coaching. And so the workshops are more in depth, where you get into some activities and implementing how to build that confidence. Really, we start off focusing on that self acceptance piece. And so there's a lot of work around that. And so those can be half a day workshop or longer. I do some trainings on Zoom, some short training on Zooms, but there are workshops available, as well as a group coaching group that I have. That's a small group coaching where we do a lot of the things. It's really also about support and community and connection. I think that's so important in these busy times as well, is just to come in and feel a place where you can kind of just take a breath and have other people that are going through something similar and learn from each other and learn some of the tools and things like that. But it's not as
You
high
have also
pressure.
you have also a Facebook group, right? You do something on Facebook group also, or just is for Facebook group? It's just for information.
The Facebook group is pretty much just for information.
Okay. And then you tell me a little bit more about the no-profit organization. What it's about.
Okay. Yeah. So in COVID, so I mentioned earlier about I lost my hearing starting at the age of 7 over the course of 15 years. To this day, we still don't know why. I grew up in the US, I grew up in South Dakota, and it wasn't in my family. I wasn't sick. All the normal things that would normally cause hearing loss, it wasn't any of those things. But fortunately, here with the amazing technology called cochlear implants, and I have now heard with cochlear implants for almost 27 years, so longer than I heard without them, which is kind of amazing to think of. And so it's just fabulous technology. Unfortunately, in the US, while most insurances and Medicare and Medicaid will pay for the initial surgery for the cochlear implant, which is the biggest cost, they won't necessarily pay for the ongoing upkeep. And so there's an external device that is much like smartphone technology. It's going to need to be repaired, replaced, and upgraded across the span of someone's lifetime. And that costs about $10,000. And unfortunately, a lot of those very same insurance companies won't cover that ongoing cost. And so my fellow cochlear implant recipients are at risk of losing their hearing for a second time, which is just such a shame, and just beyond being a shame. It just shouldn't be, because we set our entire lives up around being able to hear, just like this. I wouldn't be able to be having this conversation with you without this external equipment. And our ability to work or go to school or appreciate music or interact with our family and friends and have safety cues from things like sirens and that sort of thing. So I started this nonprofit organization in October of 2020, and we are focused on helping US at the moment cochlear implant recipients who have no other option of keeping their devices functioning from losing their hearing a second time. So we provide financial support along with that, and then also do some confidence coaching as well as part of that for the organization.
That's amazing. I wanted to let the audience know these additional resources and how you help, and this organization that can help also with hearing problem and all this. And so if there's one thing, let's recap. If there's one thing that our audience can implement right away, what is going to be?
Well, I think the easiest thing is just try to give yourself grace at all times. When you feel yourself kind of beating yourself up, just take a breath, take a second, and just go, okay, I haven't experienced this before, or whatever it might be, and just give yourself some grace. In terms of the self-acceptance piece and being kinder to oneself, I do have a free gift to share with the listeners around how to silence your inner critic. And it's a 3-step method that I created called the 3 C's, because what we want to do is catch your thoughts, challenge your thoughts, and change your thoughts. And the reason that is so important is because 80% of our daily thoughts that we're thinking are negative. And a lot of that's on repeat. So if we can catch those thoughts that are in the subconscious that are just going on autopilot, we can become much kinder to ourselves. And I explain it more in the free giveaway that I'll share with you.
They can find this in your website. Can you say the website? They're gonna have it in the show notes, but you can also verbally say, how was your website?
Absolutely. So it is called Joyful Life Solutions, all one word, Joyful Life Solutions. So you can go there and get information about any programs or coaching, as well as 3 C's to help you silence your inner critic.
Okay. Any final words for our listeners before you wrap up today?
I think, as we, it's been a really good reminder, I think, especially in this from COVID and moving beyond that reminder. And I have to remind myself as well, like we have just this one life and it's going so super fast. And, that the vein of confidence or just feeling a little bit not unconfident, that we remember that we're not meant to be like anyone else. And if we can share more of ourselves with the world, and that can just be taking small, consistent steps, like I was mentioning earlier, just take one step a day, if that's what you can do, and then be proud of yourself for doing that. But yeah, we have just this one life, and I wish you all the best, and just to be more of yourself, to be bold, to be you, and there's no limits.
Thank you, Angela, for your kind words. Thank you for your wisdom and your suggestions, your guidelines, and your amazing work. You're these amazing people who help so much. So thank you. I'm honored to be you to be my guest in Menopause Made Easy. Thank you, everyone, to listen again our episode. And I hope you get valuable information from all of our guests. So keep listening, share this podcast with others. Stay tuned for the more valuable information and amazing guests. For up to next time, stay healthy, be happy, and visit also menopausesupportacademy.com for more valuable resources. Thank you. Thank you for tuning into Menopause Made Easy. You can check out more episodes on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and your favorite podcast apps. Check out the show notes for any website linked to this episode, including where to connect with me on social media. I appreciate you tuning in. Remember to like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you'll be updated of each episode release. And visit me at menopausesupportacademy.com for all podcast updates as well. Appreciate you dropping by.